What is going on, everybody? So, for those of you who don't know, today is my birthday. Yay! I'm gonna put this guy down now. It's my 27th birthday, which is insane because I don't know how I've made it to this point. Like, I don't feel like I'm 27, but I don't know what 27 is supposed to feel like. It's just a number, doesn't matter to me. Nonetheless, it's a good day, and I wanted to use today to talk about something that I've wanted to discuss with you guys for a while, but I haven't really known how to talk about because I've only really told this to a couple of close friends. I want to talk to you guys about depression today. Yes, I know, what a great thing to talk about on a birthday, right? Yay, depression, happy birthday! It might seem a little odd, but today just felt appropriate to talk with you guys about this because I've been struggling with depression for probably the past 15 years of my life, and I haven't really told anybody before just because I was nervous about opening up like something about that. You know, for the longest time I kind of felt like there was something wrong with me. I didn't know why I was feeling like I was feeling, and it felt weird for me to talk about it. And for me, it started whenever I was a kid in middle school. You know, I wasn't really like a lot of the other boys. I wasn't into a lot of the things they were into with, you know, play fighting, wrestling, sports. It's amazing how even whenever they're 7 or 8 years old, they'll still attack you for being just a little bit different. And it got to me. You know, I've always been a very empathetic person. I soak in emotions like that, and there are times where that's great and times where I absolutely hate it, you know, but it got to me as a kid. It caused me to start really losing a lot of my self-worth. My self-image went down the drain. The bullying got worse as the years went on. I turned to, you know, video games for therapy, which I shouldn't have done because they don't work. They are fun, but it doesn't work. I started closing myself off from friends and even family. I gained a lot of weight, and that was my first real experience with depression because it was like I felt numb because I was repressing everything. I was just letting it stay there without trying to get it out, without trying to talk to someone. And this continued through high school until I got to 10th grade where I was at my lowest point. I remember there was one night I was at home and a suicidal thought passed through my mind, and that terrified me because I'd never thought that way before. And I thought, my God, like if this is happening, if these kind of thoughts are crossing my mind, like what's going on? And it scared me, kind of jolted me out of that. But you know, I struggled. My grades suffered greatly. I never went to anyone's house after school. I never really had that many friends. It was difficult for me because I wanted to reach out to people. I wanted to have friends, but at that point I was still so scared of, you know, judgment, of bullying. At that point I didn't. And this lasted all the way up until I got out of high school. I got into college. I decided to lose all of my extra weight, and I lost, I want to say 75 pounds. I don't remember like the exact number, but I lost a bunch of weight. I got into a relationship, and for a while I felt better, but it was like there was still that nagging thought in the back of my mind that something wasn't right. You know, it's like there's this darkness that's always creeping up behind you, that's always following you, and it's like no matter what you do, you can't get away from it. And that bugged me. It genuinely bugged me. And it got to the point where it brought out qualities in me that were probably my absolute worst qualities. One of the things I think a lot, you know, if a lot of you guys out there struggle with depression as well, it's something that brings out parts of you that you don't necessarily want to acknowledge. It's not fun, and it kind of scares you to think that those things are there in your mind. And after that, I mean, everything just spiraled downward. My relationship fell apart. I had been going to a university, but I switched majors twice. I lost my motivation. I lost all my ambition, and I stopped because it felt like I was aimless. It was like nothing was going anywhere. Any positivity I had was gone, and I didn't know what I was doing with myself anymore. It's like it it had gotten to the point where my depression just consumed me. And even when I talked to a couple of friends, it was so intense I didn't know what to do with myself. And it was a really scary time in my life. And it didn't really get better until the relationship ended, after a bad breakup. I ended up spending the summer with one of my best friends from my hometown, who I moved in with later that year whenever I actually went back to university to like finally pursue my bachelor's. And you know, if it weren't for his positive energy and if it weren't for those days we had together, I don't know where I would have been. You know, it's like he really helped pull me out of that funk. So fast forward a couple years. I finally graduated college with my bachelor's in mass communications. I got to take a trip to London, like London, freaking England. Oh my God, how many people get a chance to do that? I was on top of the world for the first time. It felt like I was actually managing these feelings and they weren't stopping me in my tracks and controlling my thought process. Like it actually felt like I was in control of my life and things were going where I wanted them to go. But unfortunately, good things don't last forever. And I decided to move to Austin. And I came here to pursue film work. But I didn't realize at the time that a lot of companies had left to go to places like Atlanta, New York, Vancouver, because they offer better incentives and there really wasn't much work here. I didn't know that going in, so I thought it was all my fault that I couldn't find any work. So I ended up blaming myself. I was really, really hard on myself, and I kind of got back into one of those places where I was just, my self-worth was gone like that. My self-image just deteriorated to its worst point in a long time. It's like I was just in this catatonic state where I didn't feel like I was making any progress, you know? And I signed up for a couple programs that offered, you know, classes for advice on filmmaking techniques and all that, but none of it ever led to any sort of work. And I finally just dropped all of it and I was like, what am I doing with myself right now? And I realized that I was letting that depression take a hold of me again. I was letting it take my motivation away. I was letting it kind of fill me up with anxiety, with panic, with all these existential thoughts that I didn't need to have in my head. And it was scary. It's like one of those things where it's almost like you're kind of disassociating from yourself. It's like you're losing control of your thoughts, your actions. And I realized I had to come face to face with it and say, all right, I see you're there, I acknowledge you, but I'm not going to let you do this to me anymore. One of my best friends from college brought the idea up of us moving to a different city, getting an apartment together. I got a new camera, which I'm using right now. I've started doing photography again, which has been my biggest hobby for almost 7-8 years now, I want to say. And it's like, for the first time, I'm getting some of that happiness back that I haven't felt for almost, 2-3 years, It's just whenever you finally start to feel a little bit like yourself again, it really makes that struggle that you went through worth it. But I'm still dealing with this every day. This is something that I've learned to cope with, and I'm gonna live my life with it. I'm not going to let it control me, but I think there comes a point where you have to understand that if you're struggling with something, if there's something going on that is affecting your behaviors, your thoughts, you need to come face to face with that and just accept it. There's nothing wrong with saying that you have depression. You having depression does not mean you're broken. It just means that you think differently than other people. You see life through a different viewpoint. It means your struggles are different, but you have no less worth than anyone else just because you struggle with this. And this is something that I myself have really come to realize, is something that I think with age and time, you learn to accept the things that a decade before really would have torn you apart. You learn to cope with it and get through it and become stronger because of it. And I don't want this to really be just about me, but really the message I want to get out there is, to any of you guys out there who struggle with depression, you're not alone in this, all right? You're not alone. You are not fighting this by yourself. I know it's scary. I know like there's some days where you wonder what the point is of moving forward, but it's okay. It is okay to have depression. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just, it forces you to look at life differently. And I feel like for some of us, it actually helps us find a lot of meaning in life. Because, you know, for some of us who have made it to my age, 27 or even more, you can see that just because you're still moving, there's a strength inside of you that is pushing you forward. You're not quitting. So that shows you have more strength than you realize. And it's hard to see that sometimes, but just like know there are other people struggling. There are people who will help you. And the worst thing you can do is not open up. I shut myself off this past year. I neglected a lot of my close friends. I stopped talking to family about a lot of what I was going through, and I shouldn't have done that. I realize now that I shouldn't have done that, but whenever you're in the midst of it, it's like you panic and you don't really know what else to do, so you just shut it off. You shut everything down. You try to repress it. You try to keep it all in, but that doesn't make it better. It's like, imagine trying to keep boiling water in a pot. At some point, something is going to start bubbling out. Either that or it's going to burn your insides out, which would not be fun. That'd be kind of painful. But still, don't be afraid to reach out. You know, if you're anything like me, where you were bullied a lot in school, I know it's scary to open up to others because you want to protect what little bit of your heart you have left. But you need to. You really need to. Find a friend, find someone to discuss it with. And I can promise you that'll be the beginning of an incredible recovery. Never, ever, ever be afraid to reach out to someone, because struggling by yourself or trying to end your life for this is not the answer. It is never the answer, ever. I understand the feelings of those who have thoughts like that, but reaching out and finding someone to help you will make everything so much better. So just know that like there are a lot of people who are with you. I'm with you. You don't have to do this by yourself. Just keep fighting, keep going. You're strong. I've made it to 27. If you're younger than me and you're watching it and you're struggling with this, you can make it like I did, and you can make it even further. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of strength to do this, to really kind of tell yourself, I'm not going to let this control my life anymore. Just being able to say that is a huge step. I've probably rambled a lot more than I should have, but ultimately I have depression. This isn't something I've really told that many people, but you know, it feels good to me to not only be able to be honest with myself, but be honest with you guys. You know, I struggle with it daily, but it's not, I don't want to say it's a bad thing. It just, again, it helps me see light really through a different lens. You know, you see things differently, you learn to value things differently, and ultimately I think it really does help make you a stronger person. For those of you struggling, you've got this, you can do this, and until the next video, my name is Matt. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day and October, and I will see you soon. Peace out. Goodbye. I can't turn the camera off! There we go.